Hey, everybody. Welcome to Group Chat. We have Dee back.
Hey.
Dee's back, fresh from New York. And, for those of you who listened to Sunday's episode, I gave a very raving review of New York. And I'm curious to see if it matches up to Dee's experience.
Everyone I ran into who listened to the podcast was asking me, was Drama's review right?
They were.
Yeah. They were like,
okay. Now we get to see.
Yep.
What about my review of Post Malone's album?
Honestly, I didn't get a chance to listen to it. I feel bad.
Okay. Well, we don't get a Post Malone review, but we do get a New York City review. And then we have a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on in the business world. Big move from a now former Amazon executive that we want to talk about. Apple is slowly taking over the entire world, I'm convinced.
Yep.
I think they're going to own everything here in about 5 years, it looks like. Little check-in on what's going on at retail. Some of the big retailers are having trouble. We're going to talk about it. We have some sports news. Big shakeup in the golf world.
Whoa.
And we're going to also talk about, we talked a little bit about the elections going on in California and the primaries, and there's some big moves happening, some big results that we didn't quite think would happen. I mean, I think we're surprised. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about it. You ready?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Hey, Dee.
Hey.
How was New York?
New York was fantastic.
Did any of my my read on New York, did you also feel that, or how would you feel with my read in mind?
I think I got one, I think every time I've gone to New York recently, the weather's been spectacular, so I think that helps.
Yeah.
I caught incredible weather. Definitely felt that kind of youthful energy everywhere you went.
Yeah.
Even TikTok. Kind of, I ended up going to like 2 restaurants, one for lunch, one for dinner, that are like skew older. Like even Carbone, which we had dinner at, which generally skews older, didn't have an old crowd in there. It was actually quite a young crowd, actually. Like I saw kids coming up, like really young, like in their 20s, like pulling up to have dinner there. So I thought that was super interesting. I also, I posted and I talked about, hey, does anyone want to meet up? And then Monday at like 6 p.m. in the West Village, we just found a bar called the Spaniard, and a bunch of Cathys showed up.
Really? How many? A good group?
Yeah. I don't know. It was like 20, 30. I don't know, something like that.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot for like a random pull-up request.
Yeah. And like, a few people trickled in, and then a few more trickled in, and then a few more trickled in, and then people left, and some more people came. Yeah. Unbelievable. Like, our listeners might be significantly smarter than us.
I know. It's kind of a problem. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do.
I'm like,
here.
What do you do for a living? I'm like, fuck, you're really smart.
Yeah. That's a bit of a not normal thing that we got going here.
I think
so that was good.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is got to meet like all these different people. I think 4 people that were there had just moved to New York City, and one had moved that week, and then this other person I think had moved a week or 2 prior. And
we're from like more middle America or more relocating from major cities?
One from Dallas, I think one from London, just everywhere. It definitely feels New York has gotten that energy back from young people.
Yeah.
And that they're relocating there. I'm guessing 1, obviously jobs, but just 2, like I'm sure rents are lower than they were a few years ago. So I think
what's funny is when we kind of looked around at apartments and stuff, they told us like it's impossible to get an apartment.
Yeah. But is the price,
I don't know.
Is the price lower and it's just the supply is low, or is it?
Yeah, it might be, but I just that was
So
interesting
you guys
to me.
are
I
all
thought,
in. You're moving to New York.
well, no, we dabbled. We just looked at like if we were to think about this, what would it even look like? What are prices? What do they even look like? And the guy, I mean, literally, Corrine went and looked at one, and like the next, she came back and she's like, "I want to get it," and I'm like, "Hold on, let's plan this out." And then the next day, the guy was like, "Oh, it's gone."
Wow.
And they were saying that like things are just going crazy fast, but yeah, the price could be low. They could be trying to get people back, and it's working.
Yeah. Maybe there's incentives for people to move back. My guess is like for someone like you, you basically want to get out of there by, call it November 1st.
Oh, at the latest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think October is probably pretty chilly.
Yeah. Because, October in LA is the best weather. It's like hot as shit still.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember October in Ohio was like, it starts to get cold. Like Halloween was cold.
yeah, you don't want a cold Halloween.
No chance. So,
So I think I agree. New York definitely is back. The energy was incredible. Meeting all the Kathys, phenomenal. I got to also meet another young man later the next day, and really interesting. He's in real estate, and then one of the things he said, he's like, I don't know how to say this, but the camera does add a lot of weight.
Oh my God. Well, I guess that's a compliment going that direction.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was going to say. Like, maybe I had offended him or something like that. But he just said, "You're not as fat as I thought you were going to be."
Wow. We got to fix that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you even do? What's the camera trick? I can't believe it's this much of an issue.
Yeah, it's just, we have a fat camera.
Somebody saw you in real life and said, "You're not as fat as I thought."
He didn't say those words, but
that's what he said, though.
Yeah, that's exactly what he meant. He was very clear on that. But yeah, I mean, honestly, we should definitely continue to like find times to meet people because it's quite interesting, and like everyone does like very interesting jobs, all kinds of industries, because we're predominantly in retail, fashion, tech, we think that's our audience, but it's so much broader than that. And I think there'd be so much gain by all these people meeting each other, because it's like, I don't know, there's something very special because there's that general bond over the podcast, but means they are very like-minded in a lot of topics, which I think is awesome. And then
I feel like if you're young and can afford it, New York's popping. I mean,
I think
winter sucks.
I think New York is amazing for a couple of reasons. One, always something to do. I think you generally meet a lot more people in a city like New York because of the nature of walking, and kind of most people, you're not sitting in your apartment because you don't want to be in your apartment more than likely. Yeah. So you end up being a lot more social and you're more active. I think from a traveling standpoint for a young person, it's way more desirable to live in New York. You can go to London in 4 or 5 hours. You can go to Miami. You can travel up and down the East Coast. Going to Europe that easily, like you can go for the weekend.
Yeah.
Like I basically went for 2 nights to New York. Like they can go to London for 2 nights.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is awesome.
Just good energy, man.
And by the way, it felt safe.
It did feel safe.
I had walked home last night with Josh at like Josh and another friend from dinner, and it was like midnight. The 3 of us were walking, totally fine. Then I walked back to the hotel, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
I mean, I'm walking around at midnight and by myself.
Yeah.
And I never felt anything. I would not walk in LA at midnight by myself.
No chance. I wouldn't walk down Rodeo at 5 p.m. I'm curious to hear from Arn, because like, look,
Anand's in New York, and Anand's like, "Wow, New York is so safe.
It's so safe." But I'm curious because New Yorkers are saying the same thing we're saying. And so it obviously exists somewhere, but I just want to know where. Like, I know the subways are pretty sketchy, but I just want to know.
I would love to know the number of incidents given the population versus LA to see, like, obviously we only see like the high profile crimes that are happening in New York City.
Yeah. It's
You
more
know, when
just
there's
that
something-
feeling though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you were just saying, it feels totally safe. Like it makes LA feel a little extra sketchy because you're like, you can walk home at midnight and you're like, wow, everyone, I don't know. There's other people out. There's girls walking their dogs alone. Like it seems.
Yeah. That to me was always the most surprising was seeing young women walking by themselves at night and being extremely comfortable. Like going for a run at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Only psycho guys are running in LA at 10 o'clock at night.
For real. Looking for a fight or like trying to avoid a knife attack.
Yeah, like super type A alpha, like, I'm going to run, this is my city.
Yeah. You can't get me off these sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you know, jacked and listening to Alesso.
And looking for a fight. But literally like New York, midnight, I'm pretty sure midnight, exactly. You could walk the streets of New York and there would be young women walking their dogs.
Yeah.
It just didn't, I don't know. It's really weird. But I believe the New Yorkers that the crime is up. I'm just curious where it's at.
Yeah,
Because
I'm curious.
it's obviously up somewhere, but it just made LA to me feel, it made me, we were having that election conversation. We were talking about LA being so dangerous and you were talking about walking with Dom and how sketchy that is. And it made me feel like LA is even worse than I thought because of seeing how safe New York felt.
Yeah, you know, jumping right into that, LA had the primaries, or California did, on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we had talked about it on Sunday, and you know, we're talking about Rick Caruso and Karen Bass, that being the main election. And you know, I said I voted for Rick Caruso, and you know, going into the election, I had a pretty high level of confidence that it would be a runoff.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think either would win, but I did not think Rick Caruso would actually get more votes than Karen Bass.
Really?
Because if you look at like the
People are
papers
sick of it.
and social media, like it's so loud against Rick Caruso.
Yeah.
And so it just it made you feel that like, oh wow, like, you know, Karen Bass has a lot of support.
You know what I think a funny read though is like, I'm not really on social media, so I haven't seen any of that. Like Karen Bass, to be honest, was a new name to me last week. But everywhere I go, what people actually are talking about is voting for Caruso.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in person, like people, so many people came up to me since our last podcast, like friends and people I know, and said, hey, are you voting? And blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, man, we got to get Caruso in there.
Yeah. And I think that was my point, is that like privately, I knew a lot of people talking about voting for Rick Caruso.
Yeah.
And in New York, they elected Eric Adams, who was like a law and order guy that, you know, a lot of Democrats felt like, oh, he's posing as a Democrat. He's really conservative.
Yeah.
And that's really what the narrative that's being spun on Rick Caruso here. I think it is going to be a runoff. Right now, he's ahead by 5 percentage points with like over half the votes in.
Mm-hmm.
My guess it's even closer come November.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think both sides will get activated.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge I see for Karen Bass to win is if there is any increase in crime between now and November, I think she has like absolutely no shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just like, I really, really believe like, I know, and I think the marketing strategy that people who are the vocal kind of high profile supporters of Karen Bass, they're doing wrong is painting, oh, Rick Caruso's not a real Democrat.
Yeah.
And
that's almost a good thing at this point.
Yeah. And so I think, yeah, I agree. And I think the more you're better off saying why Karen Bass is better than attacking Rick Caruso.
Yeah.
Someone attacking Rick Caruso does not make me not want to vote for him.
Yeah.
You're better off telling me why do you think Karen Bass is actually more qualified for the job? And then I can have a more open conversation around it. Yeah. And I think that's the wrong tactic, is attacking him. that the right tactic, because Rick, I don't know what Karen Bass is, why is she better? And I'm not paying attention to what she's saying, to be fair, but I'm open to it. Like, okay, let's hear it. What's your plan? Like, and I think, saying that Rick Caruso is not a real Democrat, I was always the straight down the line Democrat voter, but I'm not happy with my current situation. So why would I continue blindly voting without understanding what I think should be best for me selfishly? Like, I think I'm not like thinking about everybody else at this point in the city of Los Angeles. Everyone should be, because we tried doing that and we didn't get the results we wanted. So we need to now start really like thinking about what are the things that we think will make the city better. But just saying that he's not a Democrat is just so ironically, this is what Kanye would say. He's just like, oh, you just blindly vote for the Democrats for what? Yeah, what are they giving you? Right. And I know he sounded crazy when he said that stuff, but like if he were, if it wasn't,
it was more of the like slavery's a choice thing. The problem with Kanye is he makes good points. He just he piles a little sprinkles on it. It's
all that stuff is the problem. But like he had a point that like I didn't pay attention to at the time, but I thought about it like over the weekend, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, why do I do that blindly? And what's wrong with the little change? And look, I don't know. At the end of the day, like, I think generally speaking, everyone wants what's best for the city. If you want that, then you should make really like an effort to like learn. And here's the other thing: low ass voter turnout. If you don't like this guy so much, why is the turnout so fucking bad?
Yeah, they don't turn out. That's so much harder. Why would I turn out when I can just tweet?
Yeah,
I did my part.
My guess is Rick Caruso wins. I'd be shocked if he loses.
I think so, man. I think that to be honest, I think it's the same thing that happened with Trump. When Trump got elected, we were all, in 2016, we were all out here like, what the hell? Like, where were all of these people? Yeah. We had no idea that they were enough to elect a president. And I think it's just a smaller version of that happening in California. And in these places where notoriously all you had to do was like, be good looking and say you were a Democrat. And that's like, all right, we'll elect you. Yeah. And like, I think that that's changing. I honestly think the critique of he's not a real Democrat is a plus, because it's like, you know what? You still get to say you voted Democrat. Obviously, we're not going to go Republican in California. It's just probably not going to happen for a very long time, if ever. But you kind of get to all those people that are wishing that crime would get cleaned up, and there was a little bit more of those, like, I guess you could call them Republican values. That's a plus to them. You get the best of both worlds. You still get to be California and vote Democrat, but you get some more order.
Result. Yeah, you get a different result. And like, I think the other thing that was interesting is the DA in San Francisco was on the ballot to get recalled, Chesaboudin.
Yeah.
And that was just a landslide. He got destroyed.
Oh, he got wiped?
Wiped.
Oh,
wiped.
Wow.
He's gone.
That's big.
And a lot of people are saying that the Chinese citizens of San Francisco organized. They were fed up with kind of all the hate crimes against Asian Americans.
Yeah.
And they're the big part of the driving force that pushed this recall forward.
Wow.
And that progressive white people continue to support him, and that other groups are the reason why.
Isn't that funny?
I think that's what's going to happen in LA.
It's just funny that it's like if that scenario is true, it's like the white people claiming that they're stopping racism, voting for the people that the minorities are sick of.
Yeah. And I think I wouldn't be surprised in November when the election happened. A big reason why Rick Caruso win is like immigrant minority groups.
Yeah.
Like, I would not be surprised. Like, I think a lot of Asian people lean more center to conservative. I would see Latin communities support Rick Caruso. Like,
yeah.
I think people are going to be surprised. I think it's not just like, oh, he's not a Democrat. okay, give me the reason why that Karen Bass is better.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
not just saying that like he's not who he says he is. That's just not enough.
I feel like also like, I feel like the same way that Donald Trump always donated Democrat.
Yeah.
But he said literally in an interview, if I ever ran for president, I would run Republican because whatever, they're easier to trick or something like that.
Yeah.
And he did it. And that he found like a loophole where I really feel like there's a new loophole emerging where people that kind of are more Republican leaning, maybe moderate Republican, can actually run as Democrats because a lot of the Democratic Party has gotten so crazy that, and I feel like that's a lane that you could win over the next, 5 years.
Yeah. I was reading like a op-ed this morning that like the National Democratic Party has like a real crisis. Yeah. Because like the progressive side of the party is putting the entire party at risk.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious if they make significant changes between now and November to like show that they're more center.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, you actually put a lot of other social changes at risk, unfortunately. Yeah. And so you're finding that like, I mean, dude, Rick Caruso just got in the race and he got the most votes.
Yeah.
I understand he spent the most money. I mean, if that's all it is, then great. He's going to win again.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's just money,
wild.
Like, and by the way, like Karen Bass has a lot of billionaire supporters too. Go raise the money from them and go to battle.
Yeah.
But
it's not just money. It's everyone's feeling the way that we're feeling. I mean, think about it. Everybody that we talk to, and I know we have our own, our own bubble, but like everybody is talking about the crime and how just beyond ridiculous it is. And so, I mean, if you even like, I don't know, I'm not saying Rick Caruso might be great or might be tough, but like, if you just have a message that like, I hear you and let me address that for you. It's like, oh, finally someone. The other side doesn't even talk about it. They like literally, this was months ago, so maybe her opinion has changed. But AOC one time was asked about like all the smash and grab robberies and that stuff, and she kind of like shook it off, like, "Oh, I heard that was like a one-off." Like it's just they're not even addressing the topic.
Yeah,
it's so wild.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is exciting. It's good that Chess is out, and we're getting some big moves.
Yeah, look, I think ultimately, like everything in the world, like, the market will determine the result. Yeah. And if the market determines Rick Caruso should be mayor, then he'll be mayor. Market determines Karen Bass should be mayor, she'll be mayor.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, if you are, a Karen Bass supporter, then you should be thinking about changing her message to get people like. I don't think attacking him works. I think every day you attack him, all you do is enrage more people.
Yeah, clearly not. I mean, the numbers are already, no matter what the final outcome is, these numbers have to show you your plan isn't working.
I could not
believe she should be winning by a landslide.
I couldn't believe he got more votes. I literally could not believe it.
Yeah. This is
and by the way,
exciting.
no one voted too, on top of that. So if no one votes in November, it's a wrap. He'll easily win.
Because I feel like the people that are genuinely scared to get robbed every day are going to go vote. The people who just are more like, following like a
he's a billionaire.
Wishful thinking. Yeah, they don't care. You don't care enough. Okay, well, we'll see what happens, and we're making some moves.
Yeah,
that's the exciting part.
Yeah,
and if not, we'll just move to New York, where it seems safe, but I don't know where the danger is.
It's a nice, safe New York City.
I mean, everyone on the social media and shit, they're calling it like Gotham City and stuff. Like they're like, it's terrible. But it was literally puppies walking down the street by young women at 2 a.m.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I didn't feel that vibe at all.
Me neither. But who knows? Okay, you want to talk about some news?
Yeah.
Here's some business stuff. Dave Clark, who is the consumer chief at Amazon, is leaving to join Flexport as its new CEO. see everyone talking about this on business social media. Seems like a pretty big deal.
Yeah. So Dave Clark the other day just stepped down, and I was like, man, things at Amazon must be tough if this guy's leaving. Because it's like a legendary executive and instrumental in building out like the supply chain that allows people to get basically a big part of their success is obviously their ability to deliver to anywhere in the country in 1 to 2 days.
Yeah.
He had a lot to do with that. And so I was like, is he just like exhausted and being like, this is too much. I need a break. Yeah. No, a few days later, he's announcing he's going to Flexport.
Yeah. And clarify for the listener, because I kind of get it, but not totally. What does Flexport do?
So Flexport is building is a technology platform for supply and logistics. So the best way that we were actually one of their earlier customers, and what they did was they started by helping people basically digitize the way you book freight from overseas.
Yeah.
And then they built in the custom clearance function. Then they built in like claim the duty back. Now they're helping people finance production and give them work. So they're
kind of blended like tech and logistics, the first people to do that well.
Exactly. And so they really are kind of the leader in the space for helping people like bring their supply chain and logistics functions digitally.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people are still manually calling a freight broker or emailing them. And Flexport is just aggregating all of that so that you as a supply chain manager at XYZ company have a dashboard. You can manage everything from the dashboard, and Flexport allows you to do it.
Yep.
Ryan Peterson is the CEO and founder of the company. And he basically became like a superstar during kind of all the supply chain issues where he was at the port, he was taking boat rides, he was giving pizzas and like became like this huge like
the Dave Portnoy of logistics.
Yeah, he was the Dave Portnoy of logistics. Ended up on the cover of Time magazine. CNBC has like the top 50 disruptor companies. He's number one.
Yeah.
Flexport is number one. Very like articulate, awesome. He there's a few podcasts with him that I've listened to. The guy really understands the space. He's really smart. And Flexport, I think, is worth like, I don't know, 11 or 12 billion dollars in the private market. They reportedly are doing gross revenue of like 5 billion this year. And, a lot of that includes the shipping costs. So I don't know what their net revenue is. It could be, my guess it's under $1 billion.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty fascinating business and has an enormous opportunity. To get this guy to be the CEO is fucking nuts. That means like what? Because one is extremely self-aware that he's reached his peak.
Yeah.
That I think like very few people.
That's tough at this point in the career. You know what I mean? Like this is the point in the career where you turn the ego all the way on.
Yeah. And he said, look, I'm the guy that gets you to 0 to 1. And Dave's the guy that's going to take it to 100. Right. Like, and I think that's, that to me was the most brilliant thing that he did. And we love founder driven companies like American public markets. Like it clear when Google and Facebook and Microsoft, their biggest prime years were when the founder was involved. So he's going to be co-CEO for 6 months. Then Dave Clark becomes CEO. He then becomes chairman of the company. So he'll still be working on Flexport.
Yeah.
But I think he's taken it to a level where he feels someone like this guy can unlock more value and create a much larger business.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because most times founders, he's young, he's 41.
Yeah.
He's obviously a billionaire. And
also good for him though, because can you imagine like the next step for a 41-year-old? He's obviously worked his ass off, but that next phase of being the CEO of the next version of the company is a lot of work. And like, if it's not what you do best, it's going to be really, really hard work regardless. Like, I also like, sort of I don't know the word, like I envy someone who has the self-awareness to build something great, and then also like not feel like you need to go do that work. Like, you know, he's going to have a great life, I would imagine. Still working on the company, I would assume, and like just enjoying what he does well, as opposed to feeling the need to like now see this company on to the next phase. Like that's a
and then more importantly, like they always tell you, like the greatest founders or CEOs attract the best talent.
Yep.
And like he's got someone from Amazon that runs their consumer. I mean, like, that's nuts. That's what I think was like, Flexport's a large company, but at the end of the day, it's less than 10 years old. It's still a startup, in my opinion. Even though it's like a multi-billion-dollar revenue company. I think that like that to get someone, I would love to know like how long it took him to convince him to come. What's this guy's paid package? What's his equity?
Gosh. Can you imagine?
I mean, you're not just stealing him from like Amazon for cheap.
Yeah. No, and when it comes to like, I mean, obviously I don't have eyes on everybody who could have been in the running for this CEO position, but on paper, this feels like the best you could have got. Yeah. I mean, the guy who built and manage the infrastructure for Amazon is just like, come on. I mean, the way that Amazon works is so ahead of everyone else. And what they've built is so ahead of everyone else. It's just, this is great.
He started at Amazon in 1999.
That's wild. So that's all the action.
He's only done Amazon his whole fucking life.
That's like you, but you know, all of like, I read a book about like Bezos, like just the system in there of how they do shit is just so next level. And he has all of that. Like he has all the keys.
Playbook.
Yeah. He has the playbook of how to run scale a company like that.
Yeah. And by the way, like he graduated Auburn University in 1996. So he's what? He's like 47, 48 years old, probably.
Yeah.
He's young.
That is young. For that package he just got.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
Flexport's going to go public. It's a supply chain disaster. He's like the perfect business for this era.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, good for both of them.
Yeah. Pretty dope.
Okay. How about this? Apple just did their, I'm surprised we didn't put this on here, actually. Apple just did their sort of software release, iOS, what is it now, 16?
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see all the updates. I saw there was a lot of messaging updates.
There's one. There's one that was viral, like in our world. So they did this release where they talk about everything that's coming with their new software, and we have one of those features to talk about. But the big one that went like super viral on social media is you're now going to be able to unsend and edit text messages.
How far after you send it?
Anytime. I mean, if they read it, it's too late. You know how like on Instagram, you can unsend a message? Did you know that? You can unsend a DM.
I think I knew that.
So if you press and hold on a DM, you can unsend it on Instagram. But obviously, if I've already seen it, too late. But it'll still erase from our chat.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can do that. And also, the biggest one for me is you can now mark text as unread.
Wow.
So for me, I don't know about you. For me, I always like want to check the message to see what it says. But if it's not urgent, I want to respond to it later. Yeah. But I forget because it's just I don't see that I have an unread message.
I've been wanting that feature forever. I love that.
Yes, forever. So now you can do that. You can also, like I said, you can edit your text message if you said something wrong or whatever. Uh-huh. And so that went viral because of obviously all the like memes about cheating and drunk texts and all the stuff, right? But also, there's some more serious kind of integrations here with they're jumping into the buy now, pay later sort of thing. So like Affirm and all these companies that have offered these kind of payment plans, Apple is throwing their hat in the ring with sort of a kind of a credit type service through Apple Pay.
Yeah. So now at checkout, they're going to offer the buy now, pay later, pay over 6 weeks, 4 installments. this is interesting because you already have an Apple Pay account. It's an easy integration. Probably don't have to fill out any additional information.
Yeah.
And Apple, to me, has way more control over you than a Klarna does or a Afterpay. Because let's say you default on your Klarna and maybe you can't use Klarna and maybe they ding your credit. Who knows?
Yeah.
If you don't pay Apple, you're fucked.
Yeah, they know everything. I mean, they got you. Your whole life revolves around Apple.
You can't pay your Netflix bill. You can't pay your HBO. You can't buy an app. You can't play your game. Like,
you're done.
If you don't think you're going to be able to afford something, I wouldn't use Apple Pay. You should use Klarna.
Yeah, you don't want to be on the hook. Yeah. You turn into like a caveman overnight if Apple shuts off.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious, like from a regulation standpoint, like at what point are you going to go to these companies and be like, all right, guys, enough is enough. Like you can't do everything.
That's a great question because, I mean, I would have thought about three business decisions ago. I mean, they never got off the hook for like the crazy fees on the App Store, right? No. I mean, Zuckerberg tried to throw them under the bus for that. I think everyone talked about it.
Yeah.
They cruised right by.
Yeah. And that's kind of my problem is that like, trying to figure out like, as a regulator, like what point do you call Apple and be like, okay, guys, buy now, pay later also?
Yeah. Come on. Chill the fuck out. Can we just calm down?
Yeah.
Let's go back to the iPod.
Yeah. And I think like, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like obviously it's going to work. Well, in 3 years, it'd be like, Apple's buy now, pay later does more revenue than India, Bangladesh, and Singapore combined.
Yeah, for sure. Guaranteed. I feel like it has to be coming though, right? I mean, they have to be cracking down on them pretty soon.
Your phone is essentially your wallet, right?
Yeah.
And Apple is selling you the wallet, giving you the credit card, giving you the credit, like
and being the bank.
Yeah, like you can go buy a wallet from whatever Fossil, but they're not the credit card.
No, they're nothing. I don't know. Maybe there's something here. Maybe like the government. It seems crazy. Like it seems absurd. Like what could the reason possibly be? How are they skirting around this? It just seems like they help the government in some way. And they're like, all right, look, we'll give you access to these phones or whatever, but in exchange,
you can read everyone's text messages, but we got to be able to do whatever we want.
Yes. I mean, all of their ads now are about privacy. And then like simultaneously, they're also launching their own ad product. You know, like, yes, it's privacy, kinda, but it's also privacy so that you can own the data instead of someone else. It's not pure privacy for the sake of privacy.
Think about it from this perspective. Apple already knows what you're doing on your phone all day. Now they're going to have access. With Apple Pay, they have access to everything you buy also. Yeah.
Yeah. They know.
Think about what that data means for developing products.
They're just going to own the country, I feel like. I feel like at a certain point, they're also like, imagine if these guys, just imagine the world where they have driverless cars.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen the prototypes of those. They're actively working on it. Yeah. So imagine like now, 40% of the cars on the road are Apple.
Put it like
your
this.
Phone,
Apple,
your bank, they own us.
Apple alone is worth more than the entire crypto market.
Yeah, I think we just I'd be down to live in the United States of Apple.
Everyone gets an iPhone. Every American gets an iPhone.
You get an iPhone. Yeah, you get an upgrade. You get a free.
Everyone gets a free upgrade every year.
Membership. You get unlimited podcasts. I'd be down for it.
Apple Gym, Apple School.
Sign me up. I mean, at this point, they could do it better than a lot of things are going. I bet Apple could figure out homelessness.
Yeah, little pods.
They can
You
figure out
build everyone little
crime.
pods.
You think they can't stop getting people robbed at gunpoint here on Melrose? Yeah, right. Give it to Tim Cook.
You're about to commit a crime. Your phone just shocks you.
Yeah, no, don't do that. You have to pay your Apple Pay bill if you do.
We'll freeze all your Apple shit if you commit this crime.
Yeah, your Apple car stops. You're stuck in the middle of the road. We call the Apple police. It's over for you. I'm into it. Okay, how about this? We are hearing, in our recession that hasn't been called a recession yet, and our inflation that was supposed to be transitory. One of the big things that we're hearing a lot about is how it's impacting retail, especially the big guys, Walmart, Target, those places. And I think what's crazy is, to me, in my like adult life. I've heard plenty of times of like retail slowdowns, right? And you've always heard like, oh, retail's a little soft or retail's strong or whatever. But you're hearing these stories now about like inventory. There's this story in particular about Target where it's become such a problem that inventory is actually stacking up at their distribution centers. And now there's all these new problems that are coming from that with, canceling orders and cutting prices and trying to just move through inventory. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just never been talked about, but like I said, since 2008, I haven't heard these type of stories where there's kind of like a panic with too much inventory because nothing's selling.
Yeah, I mean, I think Target came out and said, they're over inventoried in a lot of categories. What's interesting is 3 weeks ago, they had their earnings and they didn't mention that. They mentioned that their inventory is bloated, but what happened in 3 weeks where they came out so concerned to say spending has really fallen off. There are certain categories where the consumer is not spending. We are going to slash prices, get rid of this stuff, cancel orders, and get right sized as fast as possible.
You know what I think from just sort of like what I see in the world is I think that actually earnings season this time around or this quarter seemed really like poorly timed for the businesses. Like it's like, oh shit, like we're dead on in inflation and now you have to report on that. To be honest with you, I think it was just early. Like I think all these people actually got lucky because that was the beginning of the trouble. And things might have been a little backed up at that time, not even worth mentioning. But now a month later, like I think that was the very beginning of the storm and it wasn't even enough to mention at the time.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I think continuously the gas prices have gotten higher and higher. And you're seeing this like inventory issue being reported by a lot of retailers. And then you just see a general slowdown in consumer spending. So Pura Vida, which is a brand that got acquired, I think last year, and I think we may have talked about it, maybe the year before, I forgot. But they ended up, they're part of a publicly traded company now. So their information is public. They're owned by Vera Bradley. Pura Vida's revenue is down 26% year over year. And they're saying that the company sales will be down 16% for the year. So like you take a business like that, which is a D2C, like well-known, well-established and pretty lower price point business too.
Yeah. You
now could see the picture of like what's really happening in the market, that like it is actually, a lot tougher than what we think. And I think the Target thing, so here's a good thing about a Target. Target's going to move fast, fast and furious. They're going to make their changes. And then I guarantee you, we're going to hear in Christmas, oh, they got the right inventory flow, consumers back, like they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
A lot of other businesses aren't going to figure it out fast enough. And that really becomes the challenge. I was also reading about gas prices. I was reading that a lot of people think gas prices can actually go like parabolic up.
Really?
And that it could get substantially worse, and that crude oil could hit record high of 140, 150. I mean, that would put like gas, I don't know, in California is obviously disproportionately higher than the rest of the country. But I mean, like, it's not, we could see $10.
That's so wild.
Do they have enough like numbers on the thing?
They might not. They literally might not. You might not be able to go to double digits. That would be so wild.
So
what that would do to the chain reaction of.
Oh, it's catastrophic. So they're saying that gas consumption is down year over year, and it's also down from 2019, the same period, specifically in March, where like the world was still like operating. So you're seeing basically what everyone in America is waiting for, a complete destruction in demand to kill inflation. You are hoping that people just stop filling up their gas and then demand drops and prices drop. You're hoping people stop spending money and then all the inflationary things will change. So like it's this hope that like that's our strategy.
That seems like what we got.
Yeah.
That's the one we're going to go with.
Yeah.
We're going to go for the hope. I mean, it's pretty brutal, man. I feel like it's already, I mean, obviously like the news reports and that stuff are always super trailing, but I feel like it's already like a lot worse than people realize, or of course, than like they're talking about in these like, you know, whatever, like treasury talks, you know, like I think people are really, really getting squeezed. If you talk about like Target, I mean, doesn't it seem to you, or am I just not paying attention, that we've heard about retail being soft and stuff like that, but we haven't heard about like Walmart and Target like with too much inventory and like unable to move through inventory at their DCs. That seems that means much
demand
bigger.
is really bad.
That's wild. Okay,
I went to Target the other day. It was quite busy.
Target's always popping. I don't know.
I really like Target. It's fucking great.
Great place. They just do it so well. They also did a really good job during the pandemic, you know, like
And by the way, like, you know, they're in the grocery business. They're in like even Walmart, like Walmart. I mean, I'm sure Walmart is very similar, but like we just don't live near one, but it is really just a one-stop shop of heavenly shopping.
They're great.
Kids get toys. You want groceries, you want liquor, you want snacks, you want beauty.
It feels nice, you know, feels
clean
and nice and great branding.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sure they'll figure it out. They got there for a reason. Okay, let's end with some sports. First things first. Speaking of, I mean, business must not be too bad because the Denver Broncos have agreed to sell their team. And guess who it's going to? Add more inventory. It's going to Walmart.
Talk about inventory.
There you go. Take a football team. Why don't you stack that in our DCs?
Rob Walton is leading the charge on a $4.65 billion purchase of the Denver Broncos.
We'll take it.
I mean,
that's just next level. It's just there's nothing in America like being able to just buy a premier sports team.
No, like I think the Nets sold for like $3 billion. Can you
imagine you love sports. Imagine just owning a fucking team. It's just so cool.
But I think I'll tell you, it's owning an NFL team.
Even like way beyond NBA. Wouldn't NBA be pretty fucking cool?
I think NBA. Here's the thing. I think owning any NFL team is cool.
Got it.
I don't want to own any NBA team.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
Like I want to own the Lakers.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're in San Francisco, you want to own the Warriors. You want to own maybe Miami Heat. You know, it's like, you know, Knicks or Celtics. Like some of those teams in the middle. I don't think
need them. That's very true.
Texas has like 14 basketball teams. Who wants those teams?
No, you don't need them. But you're right. Any football team is just different. It's also just different. I feel like just with American culture, like I just think being in the NFL, like being in the club of owners, and it's just different.
Yeah, I don't know. Owning
if anyone should have it should be the Walmart family. I mean, that's about as American wealth as it gets. Yeah,
I'm glad the Waltons got their team. I think everyone should have a team.
All is right in the world.
Yeah, and $4.6 billion is batshit crazy.
Wonder how inflation affected the sale of. Is the team inflated?
For sure. I mean, I would say Broncos is a premier team. Like, I would say it's top echelon of teams, not top 5.
Yeah.
Maybe top 10.
It's definitely, yeah.
I mean, they got Russell Wilson as quarterback, so at least they'll have a hot season.
I also feel like just as a brand, it's definitely top 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how good they are this year. It's like they're a premier team.
I can only imagine like what these other, like if the Dallas Cowboys were up for sale, they'd probably go for $10 billion.
They'd have to, just for the brand. At least, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And last but not least, LIV Golf.
Is this big in your world?
I mean, look, this is what I was going to say is I am a big golfer and I am the golf spokesperson of the podcast, even though Anand knows more about it than me and he's never played. I don't know what the fuck LIV Golf is, but I saw the other day that what's his name? Phil Mickelson is playing, which he's been kind of sitting out of the PGA. I saw a post that they offered there was a post that said that they apparently offered, they didn't say a number, but they said that LIV Golf offered Tiger Woods high 9 figures to play in the tournament. So I don't know. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah.
They seem to have some money.
Saudi-backed rival league of the PGA Tour. That is
that's the Saudi league.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what all the hoopla was about. Okay. I didn't know it was called LIV Golf.
Yeah, obviously, they're not going to call it like, the Arab League
Phil
golf
Mickelson,
tournament.
I mean, hey, why not? Lean in. So Phil Mickelson is playing for the
he's exclusive now. And these deals and these numbers are bananas they're signing. Dustin Johnson signs for $125 million. Phil Mickelson signed for $200 million. Bryson DeChambeau signed for $100 million plus. Tiger, obviously, they didn't get. But like effectively, I know I'm sure it's a very polarizing thing, but like it's going to have an impact on PGA Tour.
It does have an impact, yeah.
It may be nominal, but like these are pretty big stars that aren't going to be playing PGA Tour events anymore.
Yeah, that's.
I also think it'll help push golf into a new era where maybe the PGA Tour should evolve too.
Wait, Dustin Johnson?
Yeah. And they were like, how can you do this? And he's like, I'm doing best for me and my family. Yeah, take the bag, Dustin. 125. Who cares about the PGA Tour?
Well, the whole thing is, it's because it's the Saudis, like, do you go play for, but look, it's like, here's the problem, right? Is if you're really anti-Saudi, if you're truly, okay, if I walk around D and I say, you know what? Fuck Dustin Johnson. I'm not a Saudi. I don't support anything Saudi.
Yeah.
What? Can I use Uber?
Yeah. So then we have to make a list of things that you can't do because your ass is going to be sitting home because they've invested in everything.
So that's the thing. If I'm taking the moral high ground here and I say I would never mess with these guys again because they went and worked with the Saudis, can I still do that? No, right? There's not.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think
you can't do it with a clean.
Yeah, that's really the thing is like, I get it. If you strongly believe that, great. But then we're gonna have to look under the hood, and see what else in America is going to be impacted by it.
This is big. I didn't realize any of this was going on. I literally, when I heard LIV, I thought about the nightclub in Miami, and I was like, I don't know, maybe there's some new Miami tournament.
No, this is big. So, and it's all over the country. Like the schedule got released and it's all over America. There's June 9th through 11th in England, Portland, Oregon, June 30th, New Jersey, Trump National Golf Club, July 29th, like Saudi Arabia, October 14th and 16th. A lot of Trump locations.
Yeah, well, they're allies. They're buddies.
By the way,
wild. That's
record
really wild,
high oil prices. What do you think? These guys are going to be, they're eventually just going to give Tiger, here's $6 billion. Stop.
Yeah.
Don't ever play the Masters again.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm shocked right now. I can't believe this list of people. This is definitely going to impact PGA, and I think PGA definitely has to adjust. In my mind, I mean,
imagine if they just like decimated the PGA Golf Tour.
I mean, shit. If this thing goes well, I mean, if this thing goes well this year, and you sign 5 more heavy hitters next year,
I mean, I would go ahead and quickly sign Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Why not?
might as well give them 50 million. Give them 100 million. Who cares?
Who cares?
They're good.
You're probably making that a day in oil right now.
Yeah, give them 200. Yeah,
Tom Brady, just stop playing football. Play golf only.
This is wild. Yeah, that's really big. I think I'm curious what happens here because I don't know. I have no idea really. I'm new to the culture, but it seems like obviously PGA is like the old staple and they've been around forever and whatever. But Phil Mickelson did have, I don't know, maybe he's crazy, maybe not, but he had a bunch of complaints about how it was ran and how they treated the players and all that stuff. And I don't know. This is a pretty scary list. Like I could really see
Phil
if it goes
Mickelson's career earnings with the PGA Tour was $95 million.
And this is
he just
a
got
1-year
200.
deal. How long is this deal? Do you know? It didn't say, right?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know if it's like
whatever.
Yeah.
If you're talking career earnings, the guy's like 54 or something. So how much longer can he play?
I don't know. He's out there at 80 years old, smacking that ball, 200 million.
I mean, I have to believe you can compete for 5 more years. I mean, when he won that one tournament, it was like absurd because of his age. So
yeah,
he's got 5 more years, 200 million, and he's made 90 million in all of PGA. See you later. Wow. Okay. Well, sounds good. That's it. Do we have any shout outs?
I don't think so.
No shout outs.
Okay. Good chat. Looks like we're moving to New York where it's safe. All of our New York Cathys write us and let us know where the crime is because we know it's there, but I'd like to know where, especially for my next trip. I'd like to know where to avoid. I also kept feeling that. I kept feeling like, well, I don't know. Like if you were walking down Melrose, could you be tricked and think that it's like actually safe, even though like everything's hiding in the shadows? But it didn't feel that way to me.
I think in LA, the biggest difference is just like the transients and the homeless people that are around. Whereas in New York, there's just so many people just walking around.
But LA, they're like hopping out of cars with guns. Like that's what, like the transients, as you say, are like definitely. It seems worse because there's not a sea of people.
Yeah.
But what worries me is like these organized robberies.
Got it.
And it feels like it's like affecting everyone, but I don't know, whatever. We'll see. If not, we'll move to New York. Guys, great day. Thanks for the chat. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.